This past month, we had a fairly significant increase of incidents on the job site. And I will be going through some of those, and Jason will be as well. So we'll get started. So over at Volpe, we had an employee that was installing light fixtures in a conference room. The housing of the light fixture swung, hit him, cutting his forehead. The employee had all their safety equipment on, hard hat, safety glasses, all that in the time of the incident. So one of the corrective actions we, talked about with this was, just taking an extra minute to be aware of your surroundings. Ensure whatever you are working on is secured. If this could have been a two-person job, then we need to review this task and determine what we could have done differently to work in a safer manner and to prevent this incident from occurring. We didn't really dive too deep into it, but if that's something that needed to be secured more, then we should have made sure that that was done in the correct manner so that we didn't have this happen. The second one we had was an employee dropped an 8-foot ladder on their pinky toe. There was a cart full of Unistrut in the corridor where they were working. And then when they moved the ladder, it slipped, falling on the pinky toe. So this is kind of one of those freak accidents that happen, but we need to be aware of material, tools, and equipment in your work area. If there is any material, tools, anything like that in your immediate area that could create an additional hazard, then we need to get that taken care of. If it's another trades material or anything like that, then we need to contact the GC. We can't be working in unsafe conditions, and this accident could have been 100% prevented. The next one we had was an employee stepped on a screw and went through their foot. That happens. They received a tetanus shot, just a precautionary measure. But it's kind of hard to see those things on the floor sometimes. So just be aware. The laborers should be coming around cleaning up all that stuff. But if they don't, just be aware of that and make sure you're not stepping on anything. The next one we had was an employee was working on a 277-volt emergency system on the 12th floor and received an electrical shock. One of the things that we talked about, test before you touch. Don't touch the box when using a non-contact voltage sensor. This could 100% been prevented. We just need to make sure that we take those extra steps, make sure we test, make sure we're using the right equipment to test. And if something doesn't come up right in the troubleshooting process, then we need to make sure that we use lockout, tag out, shut that down, get the problem fixed, and go from there. The next one we had was an employee was hammer drilling anchors into the concrete decking for tel data racks on the 5th floor. The employee got debris in the eye. All PPE was worn during this activity, but the one thing that we discussed was obviously safety glasses weren't complete protection from this happening. So when we're drilling overhead, anything that has overhead work that could cause debris to come down, anything like that, there should be a face shield worn or gasketed glasses. That can prevent any debris material getting into your eye. The gasketed ones are pretty good. They're like what we used during COVID. If you need a face shield, just reach out to Jason or myself, and we can get you all that PPE that you need. Right now, I'm going to pass it off to Jason to continue a little more.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. We had a few more incidents in the past couple weeks since the last time we talked. A few ergonomic ones. One where somebody was bending pipe. This is a pretty typical one. Using a hand bender, pulling back, and felt a pull in their back, straining their lower back. It's very simple things like that, repetitive tasks that people kind of overthink. Or don't think enough about, rather, and they can put you out of work for a while. So a good fix for that, stretch and flex. It's not like you can use additional people to help you bend pipe, but Foreman, something to think about is if you have somebody bending pipe day in, day out, weeks after weeks after weeks, you can try to rotate tasks with people so they're not doing repetitive, laborious tasks over and over again. Try to switch people around. I know it's much easier said than done, but it's something to think about, just like if you have somebody working outside all summer long, maybe switch them out once in a while. Another one, somebody was hanging up pipe up into or hanging pipe in a J hook on a pipe cart, and felt a little crack in their back and below their neck. Something like that, stretch and flex would help. But also, assistance from other employees. You should have enough people on the job site to help that apprentice, lift that bundle of pipe up. Or if not, then you need to find mechanical ways of moving that and lifting it up, whether it be genie lifts or forklifts, whatever it may be. The last one we had, bandsaw incident. It's a typical one that we've been having over the past few years. We've had an issue with somebody holding pipe with one hand and using an entire portable bandsaw with just one hand to their other hand, and cutting themselves with it. I know if anybody worked at Site 4, they definitely saw this happening. So there's a few different corrective actions for that. Sean's going to get into that a little bit after, where it comes to different type of material we may be seeing, or different type of tools we may be seeing and implementing to try to prevent that. But we also need to look into ways to secure pipe or have additional hands and people to help when cutting, because using one hand on a bandsaw is just not the way to do it. PPE, I've gone over a few job sites since the last time we talked, a bunch. PPE has been getting better, not great. Some jobs we're getting appraisal from, Parcel P, Suffolk's very thrilled with us out there. We're doing the right thing out there. COVID, we're still seeing a good amount of it. Again, same process as we have been for the past however many years it's been. Still come to me and Mike first, and we'll take care of letting people know who need to know. It's still a 5 days out and then 5 days with mask if you're positive. One last thing I'm sure everybody heard about at Parcel P, 400 Summer Street in the Seaport. There was a curtain wall clip that fell off the side of the building. Nothing to do with us really, or with our work anyways, but it fell off the 17th floor, hit a curtain wall on the 13th floor, and then ricocheted out into an intersection on Summer Street and hit a vehicle, actually Congress Street, and hit a vehicle. Luckily, the driver of the vehicle is fine. Broken nose and definitely scared. But just, a lesson learned for that for us would be to be, diligent on job sites, look for things like that. If there's things that look like they can blow over the side of the building or fall off the side of the building, even if it's not our material, make sure you bring it up to somebody, the GC specifically, or whoever owns that material. Everybody's job is to protect the job site, so just be vigilant. That's all I have, Sean, if you want to go ahead, or Mike, whoever's going back to.
John,
Yeah.
do you mind if I just jump in really
Yeah,
quick?
go right ahead.
Okay. So for the bandsaws, you guys have all been in the field, you know it. The bandsaws are intended to be used with two hands. Single hand use is not acceptable. We've had numerous injuries. Site 4, Harvard Science, we're continuing to see them. Please communicate to all the crews that they need to use the bandsaws with two hands and continue that. We've seen some on Volpe right now that they have the dual trigger bandsaws where you have to engage the initial trigger and then you press the safety and then it will allow you to make the cut. We are buying a few of these, but this is kind of the next step. Turner's pushing us to go to these bandsaws. So I'm going to let Sean just elaborate a little more on the bandsaws.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I want to beat this to death here, but maybe we should beat it to death because it's not getting to everybody. I know myself being in the field that I have used the bandsaws one-handedly, and I haven't had any issues with it. But there's a lot of people that are working underneath you guys that maybe aren't as coordinated, and mistakes happen. I mean, this is a dangerous tool. It's a necessary tool for us. We may have rod cutters now, or even strut cutters that are out there that can shear, metal, but there's no way for us to get away from using a bandsaw right now. I mean, if they took that away from us, we'd be in trouble. Most every job we have, we're using a bandsaw right now. And contractors like Turner, they're really putting a lot of pressure on us to change things up. So good thing is they do have a bandsaw out now, or a couple bandsaws, not just the deep cut. They do have one for the compact now too, with a dual trigger. So both hands have to be on that tool to be able to use it. And there is no putting a tie wrap over that other button to make sure that the thing stays engaged while you one hand using. They work pretty good. I know that's going to, affect some other, logistics. If you have to use some other means to hold that, secure that pipe, then you're going to have to think about what that's going to be, whether it's a vise or a clamp or whatever it needs to be. But at least it will keep their hands protected. And most of the occasions, that's what we're seeing is guys using the tool with one hand and they cut their free hand. So we can't really avoid that anymore. We can argue all day about whether or not we should change our hard hats or whether we should not use ladders anymore in the project, but this one we're really having problems with. So we're looking now into changing out our complete line to these new bandsaws. So like Mike said, we have some out there now, and we're in the process of switching them out. So definitely, like you said, have some conversations with your team and come up with other ways now to use those bandsaws you're using in a different manner. And I got one more thing just to add on to what Jason was saying about the thing falling off the roof. That was a big, heavy hunk of metal, and it could have wiped somebody out. And Tim and I were on a job at Union Square the other day, and one thing you guys can look at and make sure you're being aware of is overhead protection entering the building. Every job that's has an open, under construction or whatever, they're in a site facility should have some sort of staging and overhead protection to prevent things like that falling off from wiping out one of our guys. And I was walking into that job with Tim the other day, and it was like just a pile of lumber kind of that you had to walk across to get into the building, no overhead protection. So just try to be aware of that or mention that to the safety personnel on the job site too. If that's the type of job you have, make sure that they're doing that. And if not, mention it to Mike or Jason and they'll take care of that. That's all I got. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. That's all I have for this week. Thank you for all of you who have joined, and we'll reconvene next month. Have a good one.
Thank you.